Hi, this is Miss Andrea. I run the science workshop for the Children's Museum Houston, and I'm doing a video today courtesy of the Harris County Department of Education, Case for Kids, City Connections Grant, which is funded by the City of Houston. And today, the project I'm doing is the second part of the soil sample jar. The last time that we were talking about soil sample jar, you took a sample of your soil, put it in the jar with water and soap, mixed it up, and then let it settle. So mine has settled already. And I've taken a marker and I've marked the different layers. There's 3 layers. The bottom layer is the heaviest, the sand. The second layer is silt, and then the top layer is clay. And once you have your layers, what you do is I went ahead and marked mine so I could make it easier. You're going to need a ruler, pencil and paper, something to write with, and a calculator. I used my phone. And I'm going to use the centimeter side of the ruler. And what you do is you take the bottom of the ruler, put it to the bottom of the jar, and the top layer of the clay, the mark for the clay, you are going to take that and you're going to measure it. So mine came out to a total of 5 centimeters. And then I took my ruler and I measured my clay, and I took my ruler and I measured my silt. So my clay came out to 1 centimeter, my sand to 4 centimeters, and my silt to 0.7 centimeters. Now, we're going to do a little math, but it's easy math, okay? We're going to take 1 centimeter, that's the clay, and we're going to put it over the total, which is 5.7. So 1 divided by 5.7, which is 0.175, rounded up, 0.18. Now, in order to make that to a percent, you multiply times 100, or you go bloop, bloop, and move 2 spaces to the right, and that will give you 18%. It's the same thing with the sand. 4 centimeters divided by 5.7, which gives you 0.70, and then bloop, bloop, and you got 70%. You get the idea. So 18% clay, 70% sand, and 12% silt. What does that tell me? What that tells me is that I have sandy loam. What's ideal? Ideal is 20% clay, 40% sand, and 40% silt. That is like the best soil. You can grow all kinds of stuff in that. And it's really good for the organisms. You have really nice soil. To tell you the truth, to be honest, I had a really hard time. Usually when you do a soil sample jar, you have very clear divisions on these 3. And with this one, I had a really hard time figuring out where the sand ended and the silt started. It looks like I have more sand than silt, or maybe I'm wrong and have more silt than sand. So I wasn't real comfortable with it. So I came up, I went and looked and saw that there's another test I can do, which is the ribbon test. And what you do for that is I went back and I got the soil. This is the soil that I put in my jar. I got the soil, and I also collected a couple of other soil samples from different parts of my yard, which I know have more clay, just for the fun of it. But what I'm going to do with this soil is I'm going to wet it. You don't want it super wet. And then you start working it in your hand. And what you're trying to do is make it into a little ball. So, you ever played patty cakes? You try to make mud pies? It's basically the same thing. You're going to keep moving this around. Add water as necessary, and you're going to make it form into a little ball. Now, with this, I think I need more because you need to have a pretty big ball, so I'm going to add some more. Add some more water. You're going to want to get it the consistency of like Play-Doh. So if it's not forming or it's too dry, add some more water. If it's too wet, let it dry out a little bit. You can put it in the sun; it'll dry out pretty quick. I'm going to break this up. You don't want to have big pieces in there. So it seems like what I just added has bigger pieces. You want to break that down. Actually, I think that, yeah, there it goes. You're just going to keep working it, patty cake, patty cake. Okay, once you have what is the consistency of Play-Doh, more or less, you're going to take this and you're going to put it between your forefinger and your thumb, and you're going to squeeze. I think I might need to add some more water to that. So, it takes sometimes a little bit of time to get it just where you need. But once you have that, it's because there's big pieces in there. Let me see if I can get those out. Sorry, it's taking me a minute. But you got to get it right, because if not, you won't be able to make your ribbon. So, again, patty cake, patty cake. Once you think you have a good consistency, you're going to put it between your forefinger and your thumb, and you're going to squeeze it out. Now, you see my ribbon coming out, the pieces are breaking off. Let them break off. That's okay. That's what you want them to do. So the size of what these are, and I would say that this is probably the most consistent size that I was getting when I was doing this earlier. That is going to tell you what kind of soil you have. So you take your ruler and you measure it, and again I'm using centimeters. This is 3 centimeters. So 2.5 centimeters or less tells you that you have sandy soil. 2 to 5 centimeters will tell you that you have silty, and if it's over 5, if you have really long ribbons, that tells you have clay. So I have silty soil. So I was a little bit wrong on my jar. I think the silt actually goes pretty far down. So knowing that I have silty soil tells me what I need to do to my soil to make it better. So I used to really hate that I had clay soil. I was like, oh, that clay soil is killing my plants. It's so waterlogged. The water sits on top, and it causes my plants to die, and then when it dries it gets cracked. But actually soil, clay soil is one of the best soils to have. You want clay in your soil, and the reason is it has a lot of minerals, and it also retains moisture. But if you have too much, it does cause your roots to rot and stuff like that. So and then sandy, the water goes through it too fast. You know, I actually, when I was doing this project, it's pretty fascinating. Like, I never really realized how important soil is, because soil is considered non-renewable. It takes hundreds to thousands of years just to make 1 inch of soil. So it's non-renewable, and you can ruin it overnight. You can ruin your soil overnight. So if we don't have people that understand soil, scientists that understand soil, farmers, and understand how to be able to grow stuff in it, then pretty much we'd starve, because you wouldn't be able to grow anything in it. And we'd be like, I don't know what's wrong with this soil. Well, now you know. So I am thinking of doing more projects like this. Like, the soil is so fascinating. I didn't realize it. Like, you look at it and it looks solid, but I found out that 50% of soil is water and air. Water and air. I thought it was all solid. So I'm thinking to myself, 25% air is 25% water, and 43% minerals, and 7% organic matter. So I think that's pretty astounding, but it makes sense because the roots of trees need water and they need air. So, you know, I don't know why we didn't think about it. It's because it looks so solid. So I am really fascinated by the soil. I think we're going to do more soil explorations. I'm even thinking maybe I'll do one and show how to improve your soil. And then you can grow all kinds of food or flowers, or maybe you're not interested in it. But I guarantee you probably know somebody, an aunt or your mom or your dad or your sister, somebody, grandma, that's interested in gardening or interested in growing. And so you may not be interested in it, but if you learn it, you can teach them. And then you're going to tell them all this stuff, and they're going to be like, wow, how did you know that? I know how you know that. So stick with me, because we're going to do more soil explorations a little bit later on. That's it for today. Bye. Oops, I forgot something. Dirty hands. It's okay to play in soil, but soil has a lot of organisms in it, and some of them can be really bad for your health. So, not a problem to play with soil, but make sure when you go inside that you wash your hands thoroughly and get under your fingernails, because the soil could still be under your fingernails and you eat something, and then it's not good. You could get sick. So make sure you wash your hands. Not a problem to play around with soil, but make sure that you're washing your hands afterwards. I just had to say that because I want to make sure you're safe.